I abandoned my husband with cancer, left with another man, returned years later, and now my son hates me and I've lost everything. Writing this, I still struggle to believe it, as if it wasn't me who did it. As if it's a story I read on some anonymous forum at 3 a.m., one that leaves you angry or teary-eyed. But no, it was me. It started when my husband, was diagnosed with lymphoma at 33. He had a promising career and a family who loved him. We met at 17, got pregnant unexpectedly at 18, and had our son by then. We raised him together without help, working day and night to give us what we never had. He wasn't perfect but good, kind, dedicated, protective. He bought us a small house, built a savings cushion, and for a while we thought we'd made it. Then came the cancer. It devoured him daily. Chemotherapy, vomiting, fatigue, fever. I watched him crumble while trying to stay strong for our son. We didn't sleep or laugh. We just survived. And no matter how hard I tried, seeing him waste away left me feeling dead inside. I started leaving the house more, seeking distractions. I took a part-time office job to help with bills, but honestly, I wanted to escape, to breathe, to avoid watching the man who once gave me everything die. There I met a colleague. It wasn't love or even attraction, just someone who listened, who said I still deserved to smile, who asked if I was sleeping or eating enough, who looked at me like no one had in years. I resisted at first, I swear, but one day I stopped. My love for Dad didn't vanish overnight. It eroded like an abandoned house, neglected, with silences growing longer in our shared bed. I told her I couldn't do it anymore, that I felt trapped, that it wasn't fair for either of us. He cried, begged, pleaded, said he understood the situation was hard, but that we just needed each other, that we were a family, that I shouldn't abandon him. I did anyway. I tried taking our son, then 15, with me. He looked at me, tears streaming, and said, "How can you leave him now?" I had no answer. He asked to stay with his father, and I respected his choice. I left, and so it began. A silent separation, a broken home, a love buried too soon. People call me vile for it, and maybe I am, but at the time, I felt that if I didn't escape, I'd die too. I fled from my son, myself. A small word, escape, but heavy with consequence. I thought leaving that house, that illness, that pain would help me find myself. Instead, I lost everything. I went with my lover, who convinced me it was love, or at least something to pull me from the abyss. We met at the office where I worked, supposedly to cover expenses, though really, I just wanted air free of hospital stench. He was charming, attentive, saying I didn't have to bear another suffering, that I deserved to live. I wanted to believe him, because otherwise, I'd have to admit I was abandoning the man who gave me everything for a man offering an illusion. With my divorce settlement, my fair share per the agreement, and some savings, we started a cafe, our life project, a symbol of our new story. At first, it was that. We painted walls, designed the logo, hung photos of us in the kitchen. I felt alive for the first time in years, stopped crying at night, even convinced myself my choices made sense. But that happiness had an expiration date. The first signs were subtle. He came home late, gave vague excuses, controlled my spending because we had to be careful. We stopped talking about dreams, only debts. He no longer called me beautiful, just stressed. One night, after a heated argument, when I confronted him for skipping a day at the cafe, his response froze me. "You should be grateful someone like me picked you up when you were a broken woman fleeing a corpse." He said it with contempt, like he'd done me a favor. I locked myself in the bathroom, crying, not just for his words, but because I realized what everyone thought. He was no different. Days later, he vanished, didn't come home, didn't answer his phone, didn't return to the cafe. I feared something terrible had happened, an accident, a robbery. The truth was worse. I checked our accounts, empty. Investment funds, gone. Joint credit cards, overdrawn. He took everything he could. I reported him, but it was useless. The police barely listened. Without fraud proof, it was a civil matter. The cafe limped on for a week until suppliers demanded payment. I couldn't pay, so I sold the machines, furniture, memories, everything we'd built. I moved to a rented room with a bed, microwave, cracked mirror, and damp walls. I ate bread with tea, slept scared, and began wondering if this was the punishment I deserved. I became obsessed with searching for my son, or on social media. Nothing. Total silence, like I'd been erased. Then a friend shared a photo from a cancer awareness march, people in I Survived shirts. There was Da, thinner, older, but standing, smiling. He'd beaten cancer, and I didn't even know. That day, I collapsed, sobbing on my knees, hands trembling, not for him but for me, for what I'd thrown away, for losing the man who gave me everything, even as he was dying. I decided to return, to beg forgiveness, to salvage something, even if they spat in my face. I went to their city, their house, knocked, and what happened broke me more than I'd ever imagined. I'd rehearsed that moment 1,000 times on the bus ride. How I'd look, what I'd say, if he'd cry, let me speak, if any spark of the love I left behind remained. I braced for anything. I imagined tears, hugs, even laughter. None of it happened. The house looked the same, just better kept. Trimmed garden, clean curtains, freshly painted. It was thriving without me. Seconds, then minutes passed, until I heard footsteps. The door opened, and there was Da, thinner but strong, skin weathered, gray at the temples, with that tired but calm look. "Hello," I said. He didn't respond. "Can I come in?" He shook his head. "I just want to talk." There's nothing left to say. His voice wasn't hostile, serene, detached, impenetrable. "I know I messed up. I know I have no right, but I heard you're better," and my voice broke. "I'm just glad you're alive, that you're still here." Silence hung heavy. I pressed on. "I was wrong. I left at your worst moment, but not because I didn't love you. It was because I didn't know how to keep going. I was dying with you. And you fixed that by disappearing," he said. Cold, precise, relentless. "I was with someone else, I know, and it was a mistake. He betrayed me. I lost everything. I'm alone, but I realized you were the love of my life, that none of it was worth it. I messed up, but now that you're well, that we're alive, maybe we could? You think you can just come back like nothing happened?" "Not like nothing," I sobbed. As someone who regrets, who's sorry, who wants to fix what I did, even if you don't forgive or love me, for our son at least. "Our son," he cut in. "He held me while I was dying. He helped me walk when chemo broke my legs. He read to me while you lived your new life. I tried to speak, but words failed. You chose to leave. We chose to go on, and we did without you. There's a way to start over, and we did, but not with you." He closed the door softly, without shouts or insults, and it was 1,000 times worse than I'd expected. I stood there, forehead against the wood, unsure how long. Not a fight, but an emotional funeral. He'd already buried me. I wandered away, feet, eyes, soul aching, but a faint hope flickered my son. Maybe he hadn't buried me yet. I sought him where I knew he'd be, his school. I waited outside like a nameless shadow, unsure if he'd recognize me, if he'd come with friends, ignore me or run. When I saw him, taller, stronger, more adult, with his father's tempered, serious gaze, I knew it was him. He stopped, didn't smile, slowed his pace, refusing to seem affected, but didn't leave. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "I just wanted to see you, talk if you have time." He didn't reply. We walked in silence to a small, local cafe. Not a chain, but intimate. The kind I'd have loved to own if life had gone differently. He ordered tea. I got nothing. A lump in my throat bigger than any hunger. "Why'd you come back?" he asked bluntly. "I miss you." I saw your dad, and he shut the door. I get it, but you're my son, and I wanted to talk, even if you don't want to see me. He nodded slightly, not with empathy but resignation. What do you expect me to say? Nothing. Just listening is enough. He sighed deeply. I left because I couldn't handle it, caring for your dad, working, holding everything together, pretending I was okay. It was too much. I was alone, scared. So you left with another man? I swallowed hard. It wasn't sudden. I met him. He listened, made me feel alive again. I thought it was love, but I was wrong. He betrayed me, stole from me, left me worse off. That's when I realized what I lost, you, your dad, and it wasn't worth it. Silence. Then coldly. So that happened, and you just came back? Not just, I said, as someone who made a mistake, knows it, accepts it, but still loves her son more than anything. His gaze was a mirror, not hate but disappointment. Dad said you could write if you wanted, but he didn't want visits. I said I'd see you. Thank you, I whispered. Not for you, he said. For me, to close this chapter. That broke me further. Mom, he said, and the title, no longer mine, stung. I cried a lot when you left, thought it was my fault, that if I begged more, you'd have stayed. Then I realized it wasn't. Of course not, I interrupted. I know, I get it now, but you left because you could, because you chose not to stay. It hurt me, hurt Dad, but he stayed. He never stopped being a father, even when his body gave out. I had to bathe him, feed him, change his sheets when he vomited. I grew up too fast, but I did it because he'd have stayed for me. You didn't. I sobbed uncontrollably. Do you hate me? Not anymore, but I don't admire you, and I don't want you back with him ever. And with you. He paused, delivering the most honest blow. Maybe someday, but don't expect me to defend you. I don't hate you, but I don't respect you either. He left me alone with his half-finished tea and an empty chair, and I understood. Some things can't be reclaimed with tears, love, or time. I clung to a desperate idea. If my son still spoke to me, however distantly, there might be something to salvage. A right, a chance, a bond that couldn't be erased by my mistakes. I decided to pursue legal action, not to punish anyone, but to secure a role in his life, to be his mother again, even if just through visitation. I found a lawyer, bared my soul without justifying myself, wanting someone to listen without condemning me from the first word. He looked at me seriously and said, "It's tough, but we'll try." We filed to revise the custody agreement. I wanted visits, moments, crumbs, anything to prove I still had a place in this story. But at the hearing, I realized it wasn't about my son. It was a trial of my past. Duh was there, composed, his expression so distant it made me invisible. His lawyer spoke calmly, laying out facts. My client was abandoned at his lowest, diagnosed with cancer, in a vulnerable state. His wife left with another man, tried to take their son, but he chose to stay. Since then, my client has solely cared for, supported, and educated the minor. The petitioner, however, formed a new relationship, used marital assets for a failed business with her new partner, and vanished from their lives for over a year, with no emotional or financial support, not even consistent contact. Her request stems from the failure of this external relationship, not genuine concern for the minor's well-being. Each word was a nail. My lawyer spoke of mental health, regret, human remorse, but no one listened. The judge asked one question: "What's the minor's opinion?" His lawyer replied, "The minor is open to voluntary contact with his mother but opposes changes to his current environment, mandatory visits, or shared custody, requesting his decision be respected." The judge nodded, took notes, and ruled there was no legal or emotional basis to alter the status quo. I kept my head down, hearing only just steady breathing, the kind that said he knew the outcome. Closure, not vengeance. My lawyer walked me out in silence, saying only, "They heard you, but it wasn't enough." He was right. Back in my rented room, I shut the door, kicked off my shoes, and stared into the cracked mirror barely clinging to its frame. For the first time in ages, I didn't cry, no tears left. I knew I wouldn't reclaim what I'd lost. Not through law, love, or guilt. All I had was writing, not to convince anyone, but to explain why. I still believe I deserve a second chance. Those words feel like blasphemy, making me seem more wretched, but I'll say it, even if you hate me. After everything, I deserve a second chance. Not with them, not with Da, not with my son, maybe not even with myself, but with life, with breathing without feeling my every breath is a mistake weighing on my shoulders. I'm not justifying what I did. I abandoned Da, left when he was sick, left my son with his dying father, fell for another man while mine fought to live. I did it, I don't deny it. But I also cared, cried, dragged myself through months before deciding what now defines me. I was dying too, not physically, but inside. I woke each day in fear, slept feeling I had no right to complain because I wasn't the one with cancer. No one forgave me for daring to break when I wasn't the main victim. When Da got sick, our home revolved around his pain. I understand, but no one saw me crumbling, becoming nurse, mother, emotional anchor, breadwinner, tear wiper all at once. I couldn't scream, I can't anymore, without sounding selfish. Yes, I left, and worse, for someone else. A mistake that destroyed me more than I imagined, leaving me emotionally and financially ruined, showing me I fled for an escape, not love. Even after paying that price, no one thinks I deserve to lift my head, to knock again, to ask if there's still a place for me. I doubted it myself for months, paralyzed by guilt that didn't rebuild me, only trapped me. One day, I realized endless remorse isn't justice. It's a useless prison. My son doesn't want me back. I accept it. To shut the door without shouts, with a peace that crushed me, the peace of someone needing nothing from me, not even respect. Still, I feel I have something to give, not as a mother or wife, but as a woman, a person, someone who broke and learned to rebuild without rescue. No one saves you when you're the villain. No nets, no tissues, no understanding, just silence, rejection, and the echo of your mistakes. I live alone in a barely affordable apartment, scraping by with odd jobs, no partner, no close friends, no son's respect. Yet I'm here, standing, writing, not to be loved again, but for someone to read and understand that sometimes there are no heroes or villains, just humans scared when they acted. Yes, I left at the worst time. I failed, but I tried, gave everything until I had nothing left. If you think I deserve nothing, that I screwed myself, you might be right. But who hasn't wanted to flee when the weight becomes unbearable? I lacked the tools to endure. I tried but failed, sank, and still, I'm here writing, fighting not to vanish entirely. Even the fallen deserve redemption, not from others, not always from family, but from ourselves. I don't want my old life back. It's gone. I just want to know my pain, my lessons, meant something, so I won't repeat it, won't give up again, won't hide anymore. I'm not a victim or hero. I'm the uncomfortable figure no one wants to be, the woman who made an unforgivable choice and still wants to live without being defined solely by it. If you expect me to say I hate myself, I won't. Not because I'm unrepentant, but because if I deny myself, everything I endured was for nothing. So yes, I believe I deserve a second chance, and if you disagree, that's your right. But I have mine too.